Starting off the list, number 10 is Mariah Carey. During an interview, Nick Cannon admitted that he grew up admiring Mariah Carey's music and her looks, along with like every guy out there probably. He said he was a huge fan of hers, so it felt like a dream when they started dating and eventually got married. Nick says she was always his dream girl, and he felt like he won the lottery when they finally got together. They got married in 2008, and after having twins, they sadly got separated in 2014 and officially divorced in 2016. They are still connected as devoted parents to their 9-year-olds, but Nick says that no one will ever compare with Mariah. In a recent interview in June, like a recent June 2020, he said, "I mean, it's Mariah Carey. How am I supposed to be? She's one of the most talented women to ever walk this planet. I can't hold a candle to that woman." Coming in next, number 9 is Harry Styles. There's probably a lot of girls out there who got excited to hear that he fell in love with one of his fans, thinking that they could be next. You might be. You never know. A girl named Tess Ward was first introduced to his boy band, One Direction, through a mutual friend. Of course, like most young girls at the time, she was a fan of their music. In 2017, paparazzi pictures captured him hanging out with a girl that no one really knew, and she was actually spotted wearing one of his t-shirts, which caused fans to go absolutely nuts. She started receiving a ton of nasty messages online from a bunch of other girls, and they ended up splitting up after just a few months. Tess spoke about it with the Times and said, "I'm not the kind of person who's interested in fame, and you're put in an environment which you don't understand and you can't control and you don't want it. It's horrible." Not long after their split though, I got some tea, Tess went back to her ex-boyfriend. So. Rolling into number 8 is Tom Cruise. Turns out that Katie Holmes was once telling her Dawson's Creek castmates how big of a crush she had on the actor, even admitting that she had a poster of him on her wall. So it's safe to say that she was a fangirl. Even if she had her own acting career, you can still be a fangirl. Back in 2004, she told 17 magazine she used to think she was gonna marry Tom Cruise, and just 1 year after that interview, they started dating and her dreams finally came true. They started dating in 2005 and got engaged within weeks, and introduced their little girl Suri into the world in 2006. They move fast. Sadly, his passion and involvement with Scientology put a wedge between them, and they got divorced in 2012. But I think it's still a really cool love story. Like, imagine having a poster of Tom Cruise on your wall and then you marry him. Oh, that's crazy. In spot number 7, we have Anne Hathaway. She is another celebrity who fell so in love with a fan that she went on to marry him and start a family with him. The Princess Diaries actress met her Prince Charming back in 2008, but he wasn't the Hollywood royalty that some would expect her to be with. Adam Schulman was a jewelry designer at the time and was a fan of her work like most of us. So he was just admiring her from afar until they were once introduced to each other by a mutual friend at the Palm Springs Film Festival. He is the first person to admit that he was gushing over the actress before he even met her, but she was gushing just as hard about him. During an interview, she said that the day she met him, she told her friend, "I'm going to marry that man," and she did. After meeting at the festival, they started dating and later got married in 2012. They welcomed their first baby in March 2016. Their love for each other and their family has continued to grow ever since. Moving on to number 6, we have Jake T. Austin. This one is a crazy story that will pretty much convince you that you could date your celebrity crush too. You might know him as Selena Gomez's younger brother on the show Wizards of Waverly Place. The young actor started dating a superfan, or as some people would call it, like a stalker, like she was obsessed. Her name is Danielle Caesar, and she openly admitted that she stalked him on Twitter for 6 years before getting his attention. She started her obsession back in 2009 with tweets saying she wanted to meet him so bad, and oh my god, will Jake T. Austin marry me? You know, all that stuff. She ended up meeting him at a 2011 autograph signing, and after posting the picture with him to Instagram, he followed her back on Twitter her dreams came true. The two of them got to talking and officially started dating back then, and they are still together to this day. Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Conan O'Brien. The late night talk show host loves telling the story of how he and his wife met, gushing over the fact that she was once just one of his fans. He met Liza Powell when she was just one of his audience members back in 2000 at the taping of his show. He says that he saw her in the audience and instantly fell in love with her, so maybe love at first sight does exist. He tells the story saying that she caught his eye because she was so beautiful. During an interview with Piers Morgan, he said, "Somewhere in the vault of NBC, there's footage of me literally falling for my wife on camera." Not long after meeting each other on set that day did they start to date, and then they later got married in 2002. They're still married to this day and have 2 kids together. In spot number 4 is Gwyneth Paltrow. Before she even met Chris Martin, he said he was making jokes to his friends about dating her. He was a big fan of hers and made the typical fan comments about, "One day I'm gonna marry them. I once thought I was gonna marry Nick Jonas, so like, I'm just trying to manifest that, you know, like all these people did somehow." But maybe his comments were actually a way of manifesting the future. Because one day, Gwyneth attended a Coldplay show and his assistant asked her to come backstage, and then they were finally introduced. She was also a fan of his, obviously, for going to one of his shows, so they kind of had that mutual understanding and they hit it off. They started dating and eventually got married, and now they share 2 children together. But sadly, they are just co-parenting right now because they got divorced in 2014 after 10 years of marriage. However, they remain very close friends. She posted on Instagram like the sweetest birthday message for him. Taking over the number 3 spot is Jerry Seinfeld. His wife Jessica was just a fan when they locked eyes on each other at a crowded gym back in 1998. It was just a couple of months after the Seinfeld finale aired, and Jerry was one of the most famous television stars in the world. Jerry says it took him some time to get the courage to go up and talk to her, but when he did, he opened the conversation with a joke, which is not surprising. But there was a lot of controversy in the relationship at first when they first started dating, because Jessica had married her first husband just 2 months before she met Jerry. So a lot of people took it as her having an affair, but Jessica said that she had already begun the breakup process before she even met Jerry, calling her first marriage irreparably broken. But even though the timing was not great for the 2 of them, they fell in love very quickly and got married in December of 1999, and they've been together ever since. Taking over the number 2 spot is Lisa Bonet. For anyone that has followed her relationship with Jason Momoa, they would know how obsessed he is with her. During an interview, he once said, "If someone says something is impossible, I'm like, listen here, I married Lisa Bonet." That's so cute! That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. He never thought it would be possible when he was just fan crazed by her as her character Denise on The Cosby Show. He said he was 8 years old when he first saw her on TV and that he told his mom that he wanted to marry her. His dreams did come true, and the 2 of them met at a jazz club in 2005, and they started dating and had their first child in 2007. In 2008, they welcomed their second child together and soon became a family of 5, including Lisa's daughter Zoe Kravitz. After a decade of being together, reports were made that they finally got married in 2017 after 12 years together. I know that sounds crazy, but Jason says they have always been married in heart, and that the wedding basically was just a gathering of family and friends. Earning the number 1 place is John Travolta. His wife Kelly Preston tragically passed away recently, so I thought that it'd be nice to share this adorable love story. When his movie Grease first came out way back when, Kelly said that she saw the movie in theaters and then pointed to a poster on the theater wall and said, "I'm gonna marry that man." Well, she was right. Within the first year of dating, he surprised everyone by proposing to her in 1991 on New Year's Eve. They got pregnant not long after, and she was 2 months pregnant when they had their wedding in September of that same year. It wasn't until 2000 when they welcomed their second child. They had a massive heartbreak though in 2009 when their first son Jet passed away after having a seizure and hitting his head on the bathtub at just 16 years old. 2 years after his passing, they welcomed another baby boy into their family, and Travolta said they have been stronger as a family ever since. distance. They actually just celebrated their 28th wedding anniversary in September 2019, and sadly, Kelly passed away recently on July 12th, 2020. Beginning our list at number 10 is Justin Bieber. If you don't know his rise to fame, he got famous at a very young age after he was discovered on YouTube by Usher. He moved from a small town home in Stratford, Ontario to Atlanta, Georgia to work alongside him. He and his family actually attended a church out there, and that is where he met a fan named Caitlin Beatles. Even though they were just kids at the time, they started dating, and that was his first real girlfriend apparently. They dated from 2008 to 2009 but broke up because his touring schedule just got too busy, and let's face it, they were just kids. Rumor has it though that his song Never Let Go was written about her. Don't get excited over the news that he dated a fan. He is now a married man, but he once did say that he would date his fans. During the interview, he once said that he would date a fan and even admitted to sliding into some of their DMs. That would be crazy. And Hailey Bieber came in and just swooped him up. Well, Hailey Baldwin. Moving on to number 9, we have Reese Witherspoon. She fell so madly in love with one of her fans that she is now married to him and has kids with him. Cutest story ever. The two of them began dating in 2010 and got engaged not long after that. They were already married just 1 year later in 2011 and then welcomed their first son the same year. So things moved quickly for them. So how did they meet? Turns out he was the co-lead of creative artist agency Motion Picture Department, so there were times when their company would promote her work. Obviously, he knew who she was and he adored her work, but they actually met for the first time at a house party. Reese says a drunk guy was hitting on her and then started yelling and slurring his words, and Jim walked up and pulled that guy away because it was actually his friend. When asked about their dynamic, her being a celebrity and he not, she says that she loves it and that it actually allowed them to get to know each other better in a more private way. Coming in hot at number 8 is Joe Jonas. I'm sure fans have wondered if any of the Jonas brothers would date their fans. Well, Joe did, and he was very open about it. He has been open and honest in the past about hooking up with fans and going on dates with some of them. During an interview with Us Weekly, he said, "When we started with my brothers, we would do these videos and we'd get these video girls for the videos. And it was like, oh my God, hot girls for the first time in front of us. I've gone on dates with them before." Let's also not forget when he was with Camila Bell. She was modeling and acting back at that time in September 2008 when they met on the set for the Jonas Brothers Love Bug music video. They ended up dating for a little while afterwards, probably some like classic puppy love stuff. And she even admitted that she of course was a fan of them at the time, because who wasn't? I also thought I was gonna marry Nick Jonas and that went down the drain, so. Up next, number 7 is Camila Mendes. This one is kind of an exception because Camila said they knew each other before he was a fan of her. So it's a little like twisty, not sure if it counts. She dated a guy outside of Hollywood named Victor Houston who went to a neighboring high school as her in Florida back in the day. But when her career took off, he couldn't deny that he was a fan of her talent and work, obviously. He went off to college when they graduated and landed a career in the finance industry. It wasn't until the two of them met up in New York City years down the road when they reconnected and started a relationship. They dated for a little while, but then Camila called it quits unexpectedly, saying that she just wasn't ready to be in a relationship. Despite her being the one to end the relationship, Riverdale fans still went after him like it was his fault. Rolling into number 6 is Patrick Dempsey. He and his wife Jillian Fink had to be soulmates because their story is almost too good to be true. It's like they were meant to meet that day and fall in love. Back in 1994, Jillian was working as a hairstylist and makeup artist, and she found out that Patrick had scheduled a hair appointment at her salon for a quick trim. She said she was shocked at first and thrilled because she was a fan and he was so cute. Her words, not mine, but I also agree. After 3 years of haircuts, he finally asked her out after finding out that she had become single. And just 3 months after their first date, the couple moved in together. They got married in 1999 and have been married ever since, welcoming 3 beautiful frickin' children into this world. They did have some rough patches along the way though. Jillian filed for divorce in 2015. However, they pushed through and she dismissed the divorce papers in 2016, and they said that they started with a clean slate and they have never been better. Halfway through our list is Jessica Alba. She ended up falling in love love with a man named Cash Warren, who was once just admiring her from the sidelines, working as a crew member on one of her movies. Back in 2004, he was hired to work as a production assistant on the movie she was filming, and like many people, he was a fan of her work, and probably her looks, because she is a babe. Because they were able to work on set together every day, they got to talking and began dating. Fast forward to 4 years later, the two of them got married in Beverly Hills in May of 2008. The happy couple now have 3 children together, and their marriage is going strong. Or so, that is what we know anyways. You can actually get more behind the scenes look on their life on TikTok if you have it, because Jessica loves making videos with her kids, and it's honestly the cutest thing ever. Making our way into number 4, we have Steve Harvey. He also loves telling the story about how he met his wife Marjorie, and it's honestly one of the cutest things I've ever heard. The two of them have been going strong for over a decade, and he says he knew she was the one from the first moment he laid eyes on her. He tells the story like this. It was in the comedy club one night. She came in late, sitting on the front row with her girlfriend. I stopped my show as soon as I saw her. The first words I said to Marjorie was, "I don't know who you are, but I'm going to marry you one day." And he was right. They actually dated for a year and a half first, and then they broke up and went on to marry other people. They reconnected 15 years later, and they've been together ever since. That is 2 people who were meant to be. Right person, wrong time, left, came back. Oh, so cute. Alright guys, and the 3rd spot is Kevin Jonas. Now his wife Danielle Jonas was once just working as a hairdresser in the real world. She happened to meet Kevin while vacationing in the Bahamas back in 2007. Apparently, Kevin saw her and approached her on the beach, and they got to chatting and exchanged numbers. Kevin talked about it with glamour and said, "You know how you're supposed to meet somebody and call like 2 or 3 days later? Well, I cyber-stalked her after we met, and cyber-stalked to see what flight she was going to be on coming home. And then I called her the minute she landed. That might be a little bit overboard, but I just went for it." Just a little overboard. Let me check your flight details, stranger. It must have worked though, because they got married in 2009 and they now have 2 little girls together. People fell in love with them because they started to share their relationship on their own reality show called Married to Jonas. I did watch part of it. It was actually really cute. We are here at number 2, and we have Nicolas Cage. Who would have thought a night of wine and dining could bring a celebrity to meet his future wife? One of his many fans, Alice Kim, was working at a restaurant in LA back in 2004 when the actor just so happened to eat there the night that she was working. Now, normally they have rules, especially in LA at restaurants, that you cannot ask celebrities for photos and autographs while you are on the clock. But Alice ignored the rules and went up to him and asked for an autograph. It seems to have been a moment of love at first sight, because they started hitting it off immediately and began dating not long after meeting. Things moved very quickly, and they got married just 2 months after meeting each other. Sadly though, this one does not have a happy ending. They were married for 12 years and had a child together, but in 2016 they got divorced. Rumors spread claiming that Alice actually cheated on him and that she ended the marriage unexpectedly. Okay, this one started cute and then went back. Coming into our number 1 spot, we have the cutest story ever. I think I've said that 900 times, but we have Matt Damon. In a recent interview where he spoke about his wife, Luciana, he said, "I got lucky. I fell in love with a civilian." And if you don't know their story, that is what happened. Luciana was bartending in Miami back in 2003 when the actor asked her to help him. He was in Miami at the time filming Stuck on You, and a couple of guys who were part of the crew decided to grab a beer one night in the middle of a shoot, and he tagged along with them. But he started getting swarmed by fans, which is no surprise at all, so he asked Luciana for help, and she offered for him to come behind the bar and duck down so he could hide. And that is exactly what he did. That is all it took for them to hit it off and continue talking after that. They started dating not long after and got married just 2 years later in 2005. They lived happily ever after, and they are now a family of 6. I love love stories. I just love love.